So if you want, they come in and they just write a check ALD on it. Whichever you want the check paid out.
It should be made out to Friends Foundation. And the more detail that they can provide, the better. If they want to be specific.
Yeah.
In general, we would like to stay away from being specific. One instance is someone came to one of the neighborhood libraries in Byers or Deer Trail, and they wanted to give money for a flagpole. No one knew what the cost of the flagpole was, so they stipulated their donation was $250 to the flagpole, to replace a flagpole. If we let them get that specific, we have an obligation to spend $250 on a flagpole. If the flagpole costs $1,000, then we have $750 out of the district budget that we weren't expecting, and the only way that we can use their donation at all would be to spend it on the flagpole or go back to them and say, you know what, we looked at it and a flagpole just won't work. We looked at the whole property and, you know, there's electrical lines running everywhere. We can't get it in the ground. In order for us to spend that money, we have to go back to them and say, we looked into this. We can't spend it in that way. Is it all right if we spend it just, you know, to benefit that library? So if we can make sure that general is kind of better without specifying that detail.
On Dee's question for the grant process, is the grant to the foundation then or to the Friends? Because that's two different things, isn't it?
I'm not sure on that, so I'm not familiar enough. But if it's not related to the book sale, it would be a foundation transaction instead of Friends. It's kind of complicated as to how that's one organization operating with two different functions, so I'm not sure the operation of that, if there is two separate request forms or if there's only one.
And that's one thing, is like the daily cash receipt out of, you know, from the cash register and stuff. They do list book sales and then they list foundation. And we've always had a debate at Castlewood, what goes on foundation line of the cash register? Is that when they buy the bags from the book bags that the Friends made years ago, which Castlewood still has some, or is that going, you know, it's always questionable between them.
Yep. There's always going to be some gray areas, so I would just contact finance if you have some questions about that. In general, all book sales, all used books are a Friends activity and not a library district activity. So
the foundation is totally different from Friends.
No, it can all be considered as one. Basically, Friends is book sales. Foundation is general contributions.
Okay.
Is what the difference is between the two.
I think our sign says for the used bookstore to make your check out to ALFF, which I assume was Arapahoe Library Friends Foundation.
Right. Which is the legal entity name. So that can continue.
Book sale monies do go to the foundation.
We do two separate financial statements for Friends and Foundation, even though it is one entity, but we do separate financial statements. But the sales go to Friends.
Okay, so even if they write their check out, you somehow know it's
Just
to
one bank account.
Yeah. So again, we can kind of back into how we get there. Z Drive, and then there should be a monthly financial statement folder. The original budget is going to be located here. Each month that we add financial statements, there will be a separate folder. And inside this, there are 5 different folders based on the needs that are driving the report. So we're going to look at library operations today. You'll see here are the different reports. So I talked about a high-level detail report and then a more granular report. So we'll look at outreach services. So here you're going to see exactly what happened for the month, and you'll also see the annual budgets. Because there's 0 here, that's why there's no activity in foreign language books. what I want to point out is something that I talked about a little bit earlier with the salaries. This is not just for outreach. This is for all of the people and responsibilities that Donna manages. So in here is Eloise May, Davies, Kelver, Sheridan, outreach. So don't be alarmed as to, wait, this isn't an outreach salaries, that's way too high. It is everything that she does. Same thing is true for training. Here is the training allocation. Again, this is for everybody, not just outreach. Same for mileage. Same thing for supplies. So, simple high-level report, you can see how you're doing overall instead of by an individual location. If we do want to look at that detail, let's look at the salaries number. We can go to library monthly wages. This is going to show by location those salaries. So for instance, if we're interested in Davies, here we can see what the budget was, what the actual is, and then the variances for the month. As we move forward, we'll also show this detail in year to date, so you can see how you did for the current month, and if you had a different variance, how you're doing year to date. This detail is available for wages, for library supplies and admin supplies, for mileage, and for training. On here, you'll see that this second column, there's a 5-digit number here. What that 5 digits is the account number that this information is coming from. So if we look at supplies, I think that might make a little more sense. As you know, when you guys are recording supplies or repairs on a regular basis, these numbers should look familiar to you. The 40700 is something you use on a regular basis. The 40710 is for repairs and maintenance. So if you ever have any questions, where's this number coming from, you'll see that this is telling you what account that's coming from. If we take a look at other reports, you'll see that the one report that shows up in each of the folders is the mileage and training. This report is the same for everybody, so to make it easy and you can only go to one folder, we're going to put it in each folder. But you'll see that this has admin, not just libraries. It also has administrative functions included in it. Executive director, and so forth. Has everyone had a chance to look at these reports since they've been posted, or not at all? Okay.
And Jeff, mileage and training, those are based on your supervisor. So like your training is going to hit Ted's budget and mine hits your budget. So it's based on who you report to, your supervisors, just like salaries.
So that will be a significant change for you guys when you're recording Donna's mileage. It's going to go into Reed's budget instead of into her budget.